I'm very pleased tonight to introduce tonight's speaker, and it's Dr. Brian Hare. And Dr. Brian Hare is a professor of evolutionary anthropology, psychology, and neuroscience. He's the founder and director of the Canine Cognition Center at Duke University. He's the founder and director of Duke's Puppy Kindergarten. And he does a lot of amazing things with dogs. He's an expert not only on dogs, but also on great apes and in understanding how the minds of these creatures work. He and his wife, Vanessa Woods, write best-selling books about dogs and why they're so amazing. In high school, Brian had an internship at a zoo, and this set him off on a path that a number of you tonight maybe could be set off on by some similar kind of experience you might have when you're in high school or middle school. It set him off on a path to go to Emory University and study evolution, anthropology, and cognition. And from there, he went on to Harvard University to do more of the same. And from there, he went on to do award-winning research. So please join me in welcoming Brian Hare, who's scientist, author, dog guy.
We can do that. Hey, y'all, how are ya? Does anybody like dogs? All right, that's good. I just want to make sure I was in front of the right crowd. Cat lovers, welcome too, of course. So it is a great pleasure to be with y'all, and I would be remiss to not say thank you to Jay Banner and Angela Doros. Are you there? Wave in the back. Thank you for all your hard work, organizing everything. Thank you for the folks who have supported Hot Science, Cool Talks, and make this kind of event possible, because science is cool. And maybe the coolest science, I don't know, at least this crowd might agree, is dog science. So I'm excited to be with a bunch of dog lovers and talk dogs tonight. Now, we're going to do dog science, which means that sometimes it's going to go places that you might not have expected. And hopefully that will lead to great enjoyment. But if not, we have question and answer afterwards. You can ask me anything you want to, and I'll do my best, even if we don't talk about it. All right. So what I want to do tonight is talk to you a little bit about how basic research on evolution actually led us to discover, one, the genius of dogs and sort of their secret sauce to their evolution. And then two, because we looked at the genius of dogs, we uncovered what makes individual dogs the way they are, and then how we're trying to use that to help folks who are raising or training dogs like Harper and all the other wonderful dogs that were out there before and are in the audience. And so what that's going to lead us to is thinking about puppies. So I will get to some of the findings, some of our first findings that are shareable from the puppy kindergarten, and I'll share what we've learned about that. And then we'll wrap up, and hopefully we'll have fun answering some questions. All right, so more thank yous, which is that it takes a lot of folks to do the type of research that I'm going to talk about tonight. It takes Canine Companions is our main collaborator in the service dog world, but then it also takes a lot of students. Everything I'm going to present today was part of someone's thesis or someone's course or some work that some student helped make happen, whether it was at NC State, whether it was at Duke University, and I have some of my former students here that are now working on their PhD or professors, and so everything that we're going to talk about tonight is something that is a product of a student. So thank you to all the students, including y'all. All right. They are kind of awesome. So I just told you we were going to talk about dogs, and now there's a picture of a chimpanzee. So I'm sorry. Often some of the criticism that Vanessa and I get when we write books is, it was a great book, but why are they talking about all those other animals? It's so annoying. We just want to hear about dogs. Well, what I propose to you today is partly how we figured out and discovered what makes dogs special is by comparing them to other species. So what I want to do is start off with a test for all of us. I'm going to show you a problem that most of you may not have seen before. The chimpanzee here is named Yo-Yo. She lives in Uganda at Ngamba Island as a sanctuary for orphans of the bushmeat trade. She's given lifetime care there. And she comes inside buildings sometimes to get extra food and treats if we provide some fun game for her to play. And there are problems that she's never seen before. And we play this game with lots of other chimpanzees too to see what chimps can or can't, what kind of problems they can or can't solve. So today the problem is there's peanuts at the bottom of this tube. So this is like, you know, the Longhorns winning the national championship or something like that. It's kind of a big deal to Yo-Yo. It's kind of a big deal. She really cares about it. But the peanuts are in the bottom of this tube. It's transparent, but it's really thick PVC pipe. She's not going to be able to do most things that you'd imagine a chimpanzee would do, like smash it or break it or rip it off the enclosure. It's attached. All the normal tools a chimpanzee would use to solve a problem like this are not there, like sticks and stones and things like that. But everything that you'd need to keep a chimpanzee obviously in captivity are there, you know, so that she feels comfortable. So, you know, food, water, that kind of stuff. Okay, so the question and the challenge for y'all in the audience is, she's about to solve this problem. She's going to solve it in about 3 seconds. She's never seen it before. And the question is, for you, don't yell it out, what's the solution? She has a brain a third the size of yours. Now, all of you humans have a solution in mind. I know. You all know how to do it. So she figures it out. She's got the solution. I know you all do. You know exactly what to do, don't you? I gave you a hint when I said everything in the room that you need to keep her happy and safe. Because all of you were thinking, oh, I know what, peanuts float. So I'll just spit into the tube from the water that they have to keep in my enclosure to keep me happy. That's right. Never seen it before. First time ever. Okay, there's a second solution to this problem. I'll give you a hint. It's a male solution that the male chimpanzees use. None of the male chimpanzees did this. Only the females. Anybody have the bravery to say what it is? You just want to think it, okay. Well, what you're thinking is what happened. The males peed into the tube, and then it would float up, and they got the peanut, okay? All right, so why did I show you that video? Well, we're going to talk about dogs, because it's the quickest way in 1 minute that I can demonstrate to you what cognition is. So, cognition is a mind solving a problem that it has never seen before. Using past experience that's represented in your mind, your private representations. She'd seen peanuts, she'd seen water, she'd seen things float before. Had seen related problems, but it was all in her head represented privately. And she was able to arrive at a solution to this new problem that she'd never seen before. That is cognition in action, and that's what I'm interested in when I study cognition. I actually am not interested, believe it or not, as a prior, I'm not interested when I start off studying cognition in training or teaching animals. I actually want to know what they know when they come into the world or into the problem session I'm going to give them. I want to know what they understand about the world and what they don't understand about the world, because that then can help me figure out how best to teach them. Okay? All right. So this is a Labrador Retriever named Oreo. He raised me. My little brother was born when I was 7. My mom, I think, felt bad that I was no longer the baby anymore, and I was probably whining. And somehow I ended up with a Labrador Retriever as my best friend for the rest of my childhood. It was unremarkable for Labrador Retrievers. He was adorable, loyal, followed me everywhere, and he retrieved. So I just described a Labrador Retriever. I would throw a tennis ball, he would go find it, he would jump in water. If I threw two tennis balls, he'd go get the first one. Sometimes he'd lose the second one, and then he'd come back and he would run towards me, with his slobbery first tennis ball in his mouth, spit it out, slobber everywhere, and then he would look up and be like, "Where's the other one?" And I would be like, "Oh, it's over there." And then he would run in that direction and go get the other tennis ball. I was just like, my whole childhood, I never thought anything about it. What's the big deal? It's a big deal. It ends up that was a display of something that any dog lover thinks is totally unremarkable because we've experienced it so much. But it ends up it's a really big deal cognitively, and it is what makes dogs geniuses and so remarkable. And I'm going to let Anderson Cooper in his melodious voice explain more. Hang on. There we go. Let me make sure you can hear.
He's talking about what researchers call social inference, capability humans like Hare's son Luke acquire around age 1. To demonstrate the concept, Hare hides a ball under one of these two cups.
Hey, look, you guys. Where is it? Can you get it? Can you get the ball?
Luke doesn't know which cup the ball is under,
Can you get it?
but when his father points, he makes an inference.
So what does that show you?
So when kids his age start understanding pointing, it's right when the foundations of what lead to language and culture start to develop.
It might look simple, but when Hare tried the same test with bonobos, great apes he studied for more than a decade, look what happened. Bonobos, our closest genetic relatives, can't do it.
You chose the wrong one!
But Hare discovered dogs can.
You ready? I'm gonna hide in one of these two places.
This 2-year-old Labrador named Sisu has no trouble understanding the meaning of pointing.
Now she doesn't know for sure which place you put
That's
it.
right. There's no way she could know. I'm just gonna tell her where it is.
Okay, Sisu.
Okay, so it's a surprise because I just showed you the video of Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo just did that brilliant thing. Chimpanzees are brilliant, but they really cannot solve this very elementary problem if you're a 9-month, 12-month-old infant human, which is, oh, you're pointing in this direction, therefore you're trying to tell me something interesting that I should learn about the world. Your intent is to help me and share information. They really struggle with that problem. They can't solve that type of problem spontaneously. They can learn with lots of practice and repetition to slowly, you can train them or condition them, whatever you want to say, and they can get it. But if you then give them a new gesture, something they've never seen before, they fall apart again and you have to train them again. That's not what we end up seeing in dogs. Dogs, it ends up, you can give them all sorts of novel gestures, and if they understand one, they kind of understand all. They are quick to understand, and they can read our gestures. Now, some of you may be thinking, and it's worth me pointing out because there was all this, there was the trivia question about olfactory abilities in dogs. It could be the dog just smells the food, right? You'd be within reason to be wondering or ask that. So can you imagine we could maybe run a control? And we did. There's lots of different controls we could do. Anybody have ideas what we could do to control for olfaction? Treats in both? Glue treats to the top, yes ma'am? Okay, yeah, treats in one but point to the empty one, yes ma'am? All the way at the back. All right, get rid of the scent somehow. Good. These are all good ideas. One last one. Okay, make the room stinky. I like that one. We didn't do that one. I was about to say we did all those, but we didn't do that one. Yeah, that's good. I like that. We'll try that one. Yeah, so we did all sorts of controls, and the short version is that if you only score correct choices as the first choice, they have to directly go to where you've hidden the food. You can play this at home with your own dog. And if 50-50 is the chance, they really struggle. They cannot find the food above chance. They just guess. It's like a coin toss, okay? So they are really using their vision. And the other, by the way, the other control we ran was the only thing y'all didn't say, you did a really nice job, is we actually just got rid of the cups. We put 2 pieces of food. We just pointed at one, both are visible. We just pointed at one, not the other. They go to where you point. So there's all sorts of other ways you can control. So it's not just that they're good at these gestures because of they're cheating or something like that. They're just really good at reading gestures. All right, so then that begs the next question that finally brings us to cute little puppies, which is why we're all here. So if dogs have this remarkable ability that is so critical for becoming human, understanding human gestures is the first time you sort of have a window into other people's minds. It's the first time you can look into someone's mind and say, oh, okay, I understand that you may know something or see something that I don't see. Everything, language, culture is built on the foundation of that revolutionary moment, 9 to 12 months of age. Whoa, if it's so important for humans, what the heck is it doing in dogs? How could that be? And chimpanzees and bonobos have this disability or not sort of lacking skill in this space. So one way to figure that out is to hang out with some puppies. Not just dog puppies, but wolf puppies. So we're going to go back to Anderson. Thank you, Anderson. All right, so what we found, and that's in one video I'm trying to capture about 25 years of research. What we found is that it really is domestication. It was selection for friendliness. It started as a natural selection. Wolves chose us. A population of wolves chose us. And they replaced their fear of humans with an attraction to human places, artifacts, and even humans themselves. And it set off a cascade of events that led to the first proto-dogs or dogs. And a part of that, as a byproduct, is they became better at reading gestures and making more eye contact and being sort of the social geniuses as they're interacting with us that we see today. And so to discover or uncover all that, it meant we had to spend a lot of time comparing dozens of wolf puppies that we raised and spent 24 hours with and really making sure that they were comfortable around us. And then dog puppies that we actually hadn't spent that much time with. They were kind of normally socialized, but they were still with their moms and they were probably hanging out with people an hour or two a day. So the punchline is even wolves that we spent way more time with, wolf puppies, were not good at reading human gestures or making eye contact the way that dog puppies are. So it does seem like it's something that they're prepared to do, and it's a product of domestication and due to natural selection. So this is just to depict what the process, a fun, example of what the process basically boils down to is fear is replaced with attraction. Some wolves were able to come near to humans, and because they came near to humans, they were able to use resources that other wolves were not able to use, and that is garbage. So what we do really well as a species is create a lot of garbage, and we're really good at that. And we were, even as the first dogs were evolving from wolves, or that population of wolves chose us, what attracted that first population would have been the fact that all humans 14 to 40,000 years ago, as dogs began to evolve, were living as foragers. And those people would have been really good at leaving garbage around. But the garbage of people is predictable, nutritious, easy to get, and a lot more fun to chase than an elk. And so it would have been incredibly tempting for any wolf that had the right temperament to start following us around and just going after our garbage. So that's the idea, is that wolves actually self-domesticated. They domesticated themselves. All right. So in doing all the research that reveals all this about the social genius of dogs, the fact that wolves chose us, we didn't choose them, what we discovered was also what normally when you're comparing different species or different groups of any kind, you call noise, individual variability. And all I mean by that is that in a group like this, if we were to go measure something that we wanted to measure that people do, in this group there would be lots of variation in whatever your responses would be, like the trivia that we had earlier today. And so it's the same with anything. When you measure a group of organisms, there'll be variability. Normally, when you're comparing two groups, it's noise. your statisticians trying to help you deal with the noise so you can sort of see if two groups are different from one another. But what we realize is, whoa, no, but there's so much good noise. It's useful noise, because the challenge that we have in our world is that dogs have more jobs than ever, even with AI and everything else is happening technologically in our world. Dogs are very busy people, and they have more jobs than ever, and they're more useful, and they're finding more uses for dogs all the time. But the challenge is, how do you get them through college and get them certified so they graduate? Because not all dogs can do all the jobs that we want them to do. And how do you know what job your dog might want to be trained to do? There isn't like a liberal arts education for working dogs. You don't get to kind of explore and find your major as a dog. We kind of just tell them. And so that's the challenge we have is, how do we get more dogs that are the best dogs doing all these great jobs that they can do, whether it's cadaver dogs or bomb detection, or if it's helping veterans with PTSD, if it's helping someone who's physically disabled, or if it's a courtroom dog. Dogs that are in the courtroom, if there's need for child testimony, the dogs can help kids feel more comfortable during testimony. So how do we get more of dogs available for all these incredible jobs they're doing today? That is what we realize that individual variability could be useful for. So let me show you some individual variability, okay? This is one of the embarrassing slides for me when I'm in front of a lot of scientists, because I talk in front of neuroscientists and genomicists and people who do amazingly complicated science, and then I rock up and I'm like, okay, here's my method, okay? Hang with me and see if you can get it. We take a box, we put dog food in it, and then we let the dog get food out of it. That's step one. And then step two, we lock the box, give it back to the dog, and now they can't get the food out. Everybody follow? All right. Not all science is rocket science, people, but it is powerful. We can powerfully answer important questions. Okay. So here we go. We've got two dogs that are from the same population. They've been bred, reared, and trained identically. They're from Canine Companions for Independence. It's a closed population. They've been bred the same way for 40 years. And yet, you still see a couple of approaches to this same problem where you've got this box locked. All right. One, our first dog is a do-it-yourself dog. I'm going to get that food. No one's going to stop me. I just got food out of this thing. I will knock you around so you give me that food that I just had. I want more. Yes, I do. I'm going to do it. I believe. Okay? Do-it-yourself dog. Yes. It's almost there. Almost. I know I can make it happen. So here's a very different approach. Do you have a reaction? You have a thumb. I just saw you put that in there. Help? I see you. You see me. We can do this together. We can do it together. Are you still there? I'm still here. All right. So even a little bark there at the end. All right. So here's where it gets sciencey, though. So we see these two responses, but what if we travel back in time and look at these same dogs when they were younger? And we look at their response or their approach to the same problem. Here they are again. I'm going to get that thing. I'm going to get that thing. Should I do that voice? I don't know. Baby voice. I'm going to get it. Help me out. So what we discovered was that the individual variability that we see in adult dogs, it is actually related to individual variability we see in puppies. So some of the traits that we're able to measure actually are stable across a dog's life. So how they perform relative to other dogs as puppies actually predicts what they'll do when they get older. And what's really interesting about this game, and I'll show you a little bit more later, and we have some other games as well, they are related in adult dogs. We know that when dogs turn in and it's time for them to go to college, they turn in at 18 months, not 18 years. They turn into college to be trained for 6 months, not 4 years. And we know that our games that we play like this actually predict training success and whether or not we're able to predict which dogs will do best in college. So now we have the first test that we can look at young puppies. And of course, that's the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail would be to have young puppies that we can play some quick games that don't require any training. It's just a spontaneous measure, just like yo-yo, never seen it before, let's see what you do. And then after an hour of playing some games, we can make some predictions about what that puppy might grow up to be like. Okay. So I've mentioned Canine Companions. They've been our major partner since we opened the Duke Canine Cognition Center. They are the largest service dog provider in the country. They are Snoopy dogs. The original donation was given by Charles Schultz to found them. Truly Snoopy dogs, isn't that adorable? Right. How are you going to say no to them? They breed and train over 1,000 dogs, and they provide dogs for folks with a variety of needs. And we've collaborated with them since 2010. But their problem is they have 6 campuses all over the country. It truly is like going to college. It's amazing. You go to these campuses, they train the dogs, and then people come in and they provide the dogs for free. And then they spend 6 weeks to create the teams. And then you go home with a dog that you need that might change your life or will change your life after 6 weeks. But the problem is that of the 1,000 dogs that they breed, raise, and train, only about 450 or so will actually be placed in teams. So they lose half of their dogs or more every year. And so the question is, how can we get more of those dogs out and helping people in teams? Because unlike Duke, and I don't know what UT's graduation rates are, but if you get into Duke, you will graduate 99% of the time. But if you get into college as a service dog, 50-50. It's harder, that's what I'm saying. So what I've presented to you is the hypothesis that cognition might be important to training success. And if that's true, then we ought to be able to measure cognition. Oh, there we go. Got it. We ought to be able to measure cognition and then make some predictions, which we've started to be able to do. So our goal was, though, can we go younger? Because we knew we could make predictions about adults, but what about puppies? Because the puppies are the Holy Grail. So we took Duke Canine Cognition, added to Canine Companions. Can we get more dogs and more people? And we created the Duke Puppy Kindergarten. All right. What is the Duke Puppy Kindergarten? It is science that has been funded by the National Institute of Health, the Canine Health Foundation, and the Office of Naval Research. My collaborator, Margaret Gruen, is one of the 50 board-certified veterinarians in the country studying behavior. And the two of us have worked together since 2019. And we just finished collecting data on 101 puppies. And so I can show you some of the big findings. But let me quickly just take you on a tour. I'm sorry I can't take you on a real tour, one day maybe, but here's what it kind of looks like. This was our original testing space for the Canine Cognition Center where we test adults. They built us a new outdoor playground for the puppies. We have a kindergarten that's an indoor playroom, and then we have a dorm where they can sleep at night. All right, and then just like the students wanted the puppies in the dorm, it ended up all of Duke wanted puppies everywhere. I did not know that this was going to happen. This was a byproduct of, I was just trying to do some science, and then it ended up being this thing. So we got contacted by the chapel, by the library, by the cafeteria, by different departments, by the law school, even the administrators, and they wanted puppies. Bring us your puppies. So puppies went all over campus that lived with us, that we raised on Duke's campus. It was all volunteer run by students. So the students had to raise the puppies. Sometimes it was complicated. We did cognitive tests, like I described to you. We did some temperament tests, looking at emotional reactivity. We also did some physiological measurements as well. And we worked with Margaret and canine companions. Okay, so canine companions, dogs, their life history is the following. Their lives kind of go like this. They're born, they wean around 9 weeks. They go home to puppy raisers, and so the puppy raiser might be you. And at 18 months, they turn into college. They get trained for about 6 months. If they make it, they're certified, and then they go out and they help somebody, okay? So the puppy kindergarten, we are taking puppies after weaning, and we have them between 9 and 18. Sorry, we have them not between 9 and 18 months, but we have them between 9 and 20 weeks. Now, why would I only want the puppies between 9 and 20 weeks? Well, because the last moment of rapid brain growth in a dog occurs between 9 and 16 weeks. No one had ever done a high-resolution longitudinal study of emergence of cognition during this period. Blah, 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 fancy words. I'm just trying to say no one had ever looked at puppies to see when all the abilities that allow them to be trained when they first appear in puppies. So we thought, oh my gosh, we need to have puppies during this moment of their life and measure and actually figure out when the abilities that matter, when they first emerge, when do they first appear. So we tested them every other week during this period of rapid brain growth. And we had this figure just represents, we had a lot of games. This was our schedule, just a lot of games we play with them based on what the adult dogs had done. These are the games that predicted adult dog performance in training. So we just brought them and played them with puppies. We had to make them a little smaller and a little cuter and a little shorter for puppies, but we did it. And then the next thing we did is we knew it's nature and nurture. If we want to know how things mature, we also need to account for the effect of environmental influence. So let's add that to the experimental menu. Let's raise our puppies in 2 ways. So we raised puppies on Duke's campus where they had so many opportunities to interact socially, both with other puppies. So they were actually litter reared much later than most dogs are raised with same age puppies. Usually when dogs are weaned, they go home to a person's home and they're not usually with other puppies after that. They interacted with thousands of people on campus, dozens of novel places, situations, because everybody wanted them to be there. The other puppies were raised kind of the normal way that canine companion dogs are raised, by a family, interacting with dozens of people that family interacts with. They would see other dogs, et cetera. They would go places that family took them. But at Duke, it was sort of an extreme version of what is enriched socialization. We just basically thought, okay, if it's good to socialize a dog, isn't it really good to do it crazy extreme? And that was our test. Okay. So a couple questions. When does cognition important to training first emerge? And is it that one of these rearing strategies enhances their cognitive abilities? All right. So we raised 50 dogs on Duke's campus, and the other 50 were home reared, 51, because we have 101. We had 7,000 visitors, which this was totally anticipated. I didn't know we were going to have like a thing that people wanted to come visit. But we had 7,000 visitors to come see the puppies over the 10 semesters that we raised puppies. We had 50,000 student volunteer hours, almost 600. It was the largest volunteer program on campus. Funny story, when I was dreaming this idea up, I was like, this is crazy. We can't raise puppies on campus. No one's going to want to help us. It's so much work to raise a puppy. I can't do all this. Like, how are we going to do this? I can't hire enough staff to do it. I'll be broke. No way. So we're going to have volunteers. Nobody's going to want to volunteer to do this much. So one Facebook post and 10% of the student body signed up. And I was like, oh, we have a different problem. The other thing is it ended up being, a big boon on campus during a rough moment, obviously, during the pandemic and post-pandemic. A lot of people said it had a big positive impact for them. So 101 puppies. What did we find in terms of emergence? We looked at 10 things. They're described over here on this side here. These are just the 10 games that we played again and again every other week. The star represents when we saw that half of the dogs were already above chance and capable of solving these types of problems. So for half of our games, when they first came to us at 8 weeks, it's already emerged. It's already happening. They're able to have some basic understanding of odor, auditory, those are kind of perceptual tasks, no surprise there. Gestural communication, working memory, and they're even able to remember what they've seen in the past when you try to distract them. So kind of really basic stuff, but all these tasks, again, are really important for adults to succeed with their training. All right, so the things that we saw actually mature over time were eye contact, causal reasoning, and then a couple of versions of self-control. So self-control, we had a kind of simple task of self-control, and we had a harder task. So the simple one actually emerges earlier, around 10 weeks. What's interesting about this is that after self-control emerges, remember the first do-it-yourself dog, right? Well, if you measure most dogs before this emerges, they're all going to be do-it-yourself dogs. But after 10 weeks, when they have some self-control, they start making a lot of eye contact. So if you measured it here, you'd think, oh, no, that doesn't predict anything. But if you measure it here, you're going to have the individual variability that you're going to need to make the predictions. So that's why studying emergence is really important. Causal reasoning, this is, if you guys, a lot of this has been about how smart dogs are. Causal reasoning is embarrassing if you're a dog lover. If you're a chimpanzee or bonobo lover, this is where you get to have revenge on dogs. Don't ask your dog to do your physics homework. So there are causal properties of the world that we are all familiar with: gravity, connectivity, solid objects. I think you all understand don't pass through each other. These principles, connectivity is like when things are connected, they act together. These are things dogs struggle with. These are difficult for dogs. And so the causal task we have is so embarrassing. I'm sorry I don't have a video, but you basically have two towels. One towel you just lay on the ground. The other towel you lay over what they're searching for. And so, of course, they should understand that solid objects don't pass through each other. A towel is solid, so obviously if you put it over on top of something, the displacement of the thing they're searching for is clued by the towel being not laying on the ground, right? And many dogs, when they see this tower of the thing they're looking for, where food or a toy is, they go, oh, it must be under that one flat. It's pretty embarrassing. So they do get better with time, and they can eventually understand, and it emerges here. And then self-control, this is for anybody who's interested in training. This is sort of one of the first measures of self-control that's really makes sense in the context of training. This is you have to actually avoid the previous correct answer in favor of an alternative new answer. So basically what you were correct about before is no longer correct. So you have to reverse what you learned. You have to actually avoid what was correct and now make the response that used to be wrong. Okay, so 14 weeks. So that's the story on the order of things. But for me, exciting is we actually didn't know if this stuff emerged when it should during brain growth. It could have been that it didn't. And as exhibit A of that is we did our 10th measure, which was we pointed really quickly and then stopped. It was just a really momentary point. Actually, we know adult dogs are pretty good at this. About their 70% of the time, they'll use a momentary point correctly. But you don't see a star. It never emerged. I was surprised. I thought it would have emerged down here. Nope. Even at 20 weeks, they're like, I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea. I'm just going to guess. So we don't know yet when that emerges, but it's clearly much later. Okay, so if you want to look for individual variability in this age, you'll be really disappointed because there isn't any. Okay. So what about rearing strategies? No effect. Zero. What? That was not what we predicted. That's why we do the science. So far, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I can see why you're saying all this stuff. Okay, it jives with my life experience. I kid you not, we really thought, you raise a dog a different way, and there's all this worry about, slight differences in how you raise a dog. It may have a big impact, blah, blah. Oh, my gosh, we raised them so differently, and it did nada to their cognitive emergence. As far as we know, it didn't change their temperament or their reactivity profile either. We're still working on the data, but I don't think it's going to have a big impact there either. Okay, so it means you're enough. This data means that you're enough. You do not need to raise your dog on a college campus and expect great things are going to happen. Y'all are doing great. There is a threshold. If you meet that socialization threshold, that's enough. Going beyond that, meh. Now, of course, if you deprive a dog, then we've got a different story. I absolutely would lead to horrible outcomes that a dog would probably, then we'd see horrible deficits, et cetera. But that's not what we were designed to look at. We wanted to know, is there a positive outcome we could encourage? Okay, sleep. Having raised now 50 dogs, I can definitively tell you some things about dog sleep that as a dog owner, I desperately wanted to know many evenings and middle of the night, which is when my puppy is crying, whether they're in a crate or they're not in a crate, or they're bothering me in the middle of the night or whatever, are they, one, just being jerks and want attention? Are they trying to play and, I should ignore them? If I take them out, am I teaching them something that will make them now, for the rest of their lives, wake me up in the middle of the night and want to pee on the rug? Or is it that actually they just really need to go to the bathroom? And they're not trying to manipulate you. They just really need to pee and poo. And if it is just that they have to pee and poo, does taking them out somehow make them turn into horrible dogs later? I mean, I honestly, truthfully, did not know the answer, but we have now raised dozens and dozens of dogs, and I can tell you now 2 things about puppy sleep that are important for how you raise your dog. Number 1 is before 14 weeks, maybe 13 weeks, you should take your puppy out if they wake you up in the middle of the night. They have to go to the bathroom. That's the first thing. Do not think that they're trying to get your attention and manipulate you. They are not. They have to go to the bathroom. Okay. The next thing is you will be disappointed in the morning as well. The other thing is getting them and taking them out of the crate versus not. We had a lot of people do a lot of different things raising these dogs. A lot of different things. But what happened is by 18 weeks, they all were sleeping through the night and none of them were peeing in the middle of the night or pooing in the middle of the night. So it doesn't matter. The things we're all worried about, it doesn't matter. It's okay. If you take them out, they're not going to somehow learn to disturb you in the middle of the night, and they're not crying for help. Now, after 14, 15 weeks, I think maybe at that point, bladders are big enough. Probably it's time to start maybe letting them, 6, 7 hours, they should be able to make it, okay? I told you 2 things we learned. The second is I made this mistake many times, but I've learned now that there's a different way to think about it. Canine Companions was the first to sort of point this out to us, and we were like, whatever. And then after raising lots of dogs, we were like, oh my gosh, they're so right. The big mistake you can make is you have a puppy, you are tired, you take them out before you go to bed, you've had a long day, puppy still has energy, how do you have any energy? Okay, I'm gonna take you outside, you're gonna go to the bathroom, okay, I saw you go to the bathroom, all right, let's go. We're gonna go back inside. That is a huge mistake. Big mistake. What you want to do, unfortunately, if you're really tired, is when you go outside, you start a timer for 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. And I don't care if they go to the bathroom or they don't go to the bathroom, you do not go inside for 15 minutes. Because it sometimes takes them time, sometimes they've got to think about it, sometimes they got to smell the right thing, they got to walk around. And the other thing to know is that dogs go to the bathroom in bouts. They're not like us. We just go and it's over. They like to sort of, I'm going to put some over here, I'm going to put some over here. And so it's not a one-time you're done thing, okay? So you're going to avoid a lot of pain for yourself and your puppy if you set that timer to 15 to 20 minutes, okay? All right. So the other thing we discovered about sleep is this is adult sleep. Nobody had actually ever studied puppy sleep. Can you believe that? I couldn't believe it when I discovered that. It was Margaret that told me. I was like, Margaret, what are you talking about? No one's ever measured puppy sleep. Okay. So we put actigraphs, these activity monitors on the puppies, and we could measure their activity during the night and during the day. And what we discovered is this is adult activity patterns. So if the line goes up, that means they're active. They're most active in the evening, basically when people come home. And that's the adult dog pattern. What we see in puppies is they have more of these little bumps. So they have 4 major activity moments during the day. This is actually from 8 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. So why is it that puppies are like napping and then going crazy? That's what all puppies do. They have 4 periods of activity. And so if you're a 9 to 5er and you think you're going to lock your dog up and leave, well, you might be okay on the first one, but these 2, they wake up and they got to go crazy. They got to go out, go to the bathroom, they got to walk around. So this is why with puppies, and this is the puppies to 20 weeks. They still have these 4 activity periods. Okay. So final discovery, and then we'll wrap up, is this was the big surprise, aside from so I told you that rearing didn't matter, but now I'm going to tell you that a certain experience mattered a lot. And one of the games we played was eye contact. It was that sort of impossible task that I showed you where the 2 dogs, they were either do it yourself or they asked for help. We played that game with our puppies, our 101 puppies. We played that game every other week, 5 minutes every other week, and we compared them. These are the dogs that were repeatedly tested biweekly, and then there were some control dogs. We actually have 22 now, and the pattern holds up. And we only tested them once at 20 weeks. So they were as old as our longitudinal dogs were at their last testing point. And our longitudinally tested dogs who repeatedly played this game for 5 minutes biweekly made double the eye contact that the control dogs made that weren't tested longitudinally, and double what adult dogs make. Eye contact is crucial for social bonding, for training, for all the things we care tons about. Are you kidding me? 5 minutes playing this game biweekly and you can double eye contact? That's crazy. So that was one of the big fun findings. I wouldn't have predicted, but there you have it. We got the data. Okay. So what's in the future? I told you the Holy Grail is making predictions. Part of our problem is we're not ready to make predictions because some of our puppies are still on the yellow brick road or the multicolored road of the life history of a canine companions dog. Will they be service dogs? Will they be pet dogs? We're still waiting to find out. We've got even more behind following up. But when we're finished with all our 101 dogs and they've all been tested and grow up, we'll be able to then make some reverse predictions and see if our data could have predicted who was going to make it and who was not. But I'll have to come back and tell you what we found there. All right, and the puppy effect on campus, it decreased feelings of sadness, tenseness, and commitment for all those 7,000, of those 7,000 visitors who came to visit, and our students as well. And then we took the puppies to the hospital, and this was one of the most wonderful parts of this was post-pandemic. Obviously, nurses and doctors were exhausted, so we took the puppies to Duke to cheer. This was the pediatric oncologist, and talk about a tough job. So, and they reported that this was, one of the main things they looked forward to was the puppies would come every week, once a week, to come visit them. It gave them something to look forward to, and all the difficulty that they were dealing with. So, thank you. And one last video for questions, just to warm you up.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah, thanks so much, Brian. We have time for questions. So raise your hand and come down to the aisle, and we'll front of the aisle, and we can hear your question. Okay, or I will come to you.
You had talked about dogs' cognition developing the same whether they're in the home or on campus. I work with dogs in the shelter. Have you thought about other environments and how they affect cognition?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't, because we did not observe a difference in the 2 ways that we raised our dogs. It does not mean that raising dogs other ways wouldn't have a massive impact. So a dog that is born in a shelter, depending on what kind of shelter it is going to have a very different experience. But my guess is that most shelters are going to give puppies a lot of TLC, a lot of human contact as much as they can. and hopefully give them as much experience with novelty so that they can grow up to be confident. But that's what we want to have happen at critical periods, is we want dogs to be exposed to novel people, novel places, novel things, so they can grow up to be confident. And so absolutely, if they don't have that, then we would predict differences. We haven't measured it, and we'd love to, but it'll take a whole nother grand cycle. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible for dogs to be more smart than humans?
Oh, every day. That's a wonderful question. I mean, they got, especially in, say, Austin, a place like Austin, where everybody in this room is absolutely in love with their dog and would do anything for them. They got a pretty good deal, right? I mean, I would sign up for it. You get kind of awesome food. Like every day you come over, everybody's so happy to see you. You're happy to see them. They play with you. And then, they go to work and you go to sleep. It's pretty good. I don't know. What do you think?
Good.
Thank you.
How much dog poop did you have to pick up?
That is awesome. A lot. To quantify it, a puppy in each of those 4 activity bouts, there will be 2 to 3 urination defecation bouts as well. So, you're talking maybe 4 poops a day. 4 to 8 poops a day. And we had them for 70 days, and we had 5 to 7 puppies at a time. So, and that's only accounting for 8 hours. So, yes, our volunteers, it was probably at least 1 poopy bag per volunteer hour.
Thank you for quantifying.
I was trying to be scientific about it. I don't know.
Hello, I'm a bit curious. So you're talking about a 9 to 5, and if you're 9 to 5 and you don't want to leave a puppy alone. I'm actually kind of curious about the opposite. So I know a lot of people are worried about attachment issues with puppies. I'm curious if you can speak to that and whether or not, let's say you're working a remote job and you're at home.
Yeah.
Do you know if puppies can get too attached to you to the point that that you can't leave, you can't do anything, it's unhealthy?
Yeah. So the reason I put this book up is it reminded me to say my wife, who cares deeply about that in particular, wrote beautifully about that very topic. And the argument is that, yes, we're worried about our dogs being confident, meeting new people and being in new places, etc. But it is as important that they are confident on their own. And so it was one of the big worries during the pandemic. There was a lot of puppies raised during the pandemic, and it was one of the big concerns that people weren't going to have their dogs have enough alone time, and then they would be too attached and have separation anxiety. Dogs do, of course, have separation anxiety. So yes, as you're raising a young puppy, so the canine companion dogs, we had a very tight and rigorous schedule. They had to take 3 naps, and when they took the 3 naps during the day, during those troughs of activity, they were napping alone and naked, as they call it, in the crate. So without a collar, without anything. And that way they could get used to being alone. And honestly, they love the crate.
Home for them, kind of.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
We'll take one more question here, and then we'll run to you guys waiting patiently over there.
Do dogs in different countries think in different languages?
I love it. Yes. Folks will, speak, the language that is in that country to those dogs. So, they're learning different labels for different actions and words. So certainly, dogs learn words in different languages equally well. But the reason I was giggling is one of our findings, though, is we were comparing different species and their self-control. And we compared a lot of primates and birds that were raised in 2 different places, and they kind of had the same self-control across the different populations. The exception were dogs. And it was interesting because the dogs that had very little self-control were American dogs. And dogs that had a lot of self-control were the dogs tested in Germany. There are definitely probably some differences between dogs that have to do with where they're living.
Oh, I was? Okay. Is there a type of dog that is most likely to be a service dog?
Oh, what a great question. What a great question. Yes, so there is. One of the things working with canine companions and, trying to do, hot science is, or cool science, is we discovered the secret sauce for what makes service dogs great. A lot of people ask me, are service dogs more trainable? Are they more intelligent? Blah, blah, blah. It ends up it's not that at all. It ends up that they're, the scientific word for what it is that makes them special is they're neophilic. So they are attracted to strange people. They love new people more than their owners. They love to meet new people. Basically what I'm telling you is they're extroverted. And that is their secret sauce, because it means when they're in public places, when they're in any place that might cause a normal dog stress, they are so happy. There's new people. I love new people. Look, you're so cool. Oh yeah, you're okay, owner, but look at this new person. That's great. So why is that remarkable? Because dogs evolved from wolves. We covered that. Wolves are one of the only other species besides chimpanzees and humans, et cetera, that have lethal aggression. So wolves will actually kill wolves from other groups that are strange to them. When they meet a strange wolf, they're very afraid. They're xenophobic. So most dogs inherited that fear of strangers. They don't like strangers because they evolved from a species that doesn't like strangers. So the fact that service dogs now have been bred and they are attracted and enjoy strangers is their secret.
You may have already said this, but are these rescues that you brought in?
So canine companions they breed and raise and train their dogs. So that's when I was saying it's a closed population. So they started with a population. It's a great question. They started a population with labs and Goldens that they crossed, and then for 50 years they've now been selecting them for service. And now they're a new breed. They are xenophilic. They have much more oxytocin when they meet with people, which is the sort of social bonding hormone. They make a lot more eye contact than average dogs. There are rescue dogs that are trained for all sorts of work, and that can also happen as well. And there's all sorts of questions we could ask about that too. But that's not what we focused on in this study. Thank you.
Are dogs smarter than chimpanzees?
So are dogs smarter than chimpanzees? What a cool question. They can be, but they also can be not as smart as the other. So the way to think about it is it's like a toolbox. Imagine a hammer and a screwdriver. If I asked you which is a better tool, that's kind of a hard question to answer, right? What's better, a hammer or a screwdriver? Well, if I got a hammer's better. If I need to, put 2 boards together with a screwdriver. So it's a little bit like that, where it depends on the problem we're solving. If I'm trying to get fruit out of a tree, chimpanzee, I'm going to put my money on the chimpanzee. If I need to catch a fish, probably you want a dolphin, right? They're going to have echolocation. They can solve the problem because that's the problem they evolved to solve. Dogs communicating with people, they're the ones. So it's a little bit like that, about tools in a toolbox.
Good question.
Thank you.
All right, who's next?
You may have already talked about this, but how many different breeds of dogs did you have in the study? And did you find that the different breeds of dogs were better or worse at different subjects within your tests?
Okay, I didn't talk about breed beyond service dogs with the data I presented, but we have studied breed differences in intelligence cognition. We did a citizen science project, which is still up and running, and you can participate in it if you want. Your dog at home can participate if he or she wants, and it really is voluntary, so good luck. It's called Cognition, and you can go to the website, and many of the games that I just talked about today are there, and there's instructions how to play with your dog. Thousands of people have done it. I have the data because all the dogs played the same games, and many of them were from many different breeds. And so the smartest breed there isn't one. It ends up that no dog breed is better on all the games. In fact, there's no dog breed that's better on 2 games. And the idea that they're like Border Collie, German Shepherd, whatever, that was from a study done where 100 trainers were asked their opinion of which dogs were most trainable. They were just asked their opinion. And the trainer said, oh, Border Collies and German Shepherds, the thing we know, okay? But nobody actually measured the things we were talking about. It was just people's opinion. But it ends up when you go measure it, breed doesn't tell you much about dog cognition. Thank you.
We'll take one more question here, and then we'll go over there for a question or two.
Why do dogs have blue eyes when they're born?
Oh, okay. Honest today, that was the question when I was I was watching the trivia, and I was like, okay, yeah, I know that one. I know that. I was like, oh, I don't know that. What color are their eyes when they're born? So I honestly learned that today too. That's how good this organization is. Good job, Jay. I was here to learn too. But I think they're blue. In all honesty, I think they're blue because it is the case often when mammals or infants are born that they don't have the full coloration. There's a hormone that's called melanin that your body, after you're born, it creates more of. And so blue eyes just basically means you don't have any of that melanin yet. And so I think when a puppy's born, they don't have that coloration yet, and then that kind of kicks in and melanin's created and they get the eye color.
Way to improv.
What constitutes temperament?
So what constitutes temperament? So temperament, I had the great fortune to be in school where Jerry Kagan was professing still at the time, and he is one of the pioneers of temperament research. And so I'm going to borrow from his ideas that really temperament is emotional reactivity, and it is usually some type of emotional reactivity that you are prepared with, that you have a predisposition for early in life. It can be shaped by experience, and then that between the environment and your temperament that you might be born with or have predisposition for, those things interact, and that's what creates personality. So the idea is that temperament would be how you respond to novelty, for instance. So the game at the end with the puppy with the animatronic little lion thing, that dog had a very positive response to that. We had other dogs that did not want to be near it, and we're like, what is that? So the argument for temperament would be one of the things that's happening there is in one dog, there's not really a response of the emotions that might have that dog feel afraid, whereas the other dog is having a big response and they're feeling afraid, and those would be temperament differences. I hope that helped.
Thanks. All right, one more question, then we'll move on to our raffle.
Why are humans afraid of dogs even though we have like a lot more resources and thumbs and stuff?
That's an awesome question. Well, it's a deep question. There's many ways I can answer it, but part of it has to do with the fact that there is a large portion of people in the United States, for instance, that are bitten by dogs. So over almost half of people report in the United States that at some point they were bitten by a dog. And depending on when that happened, it might make people afraid. So it is the case that as amazing as dogs are, if we had millions of wolves living in our homes, the stats would be much worse. The consequences would be more dramatic. But it is the case that sometimes dogs bite. And so that makes some people afraid. But there's other ways to think about that question too. Thank you.
Excellent questions, everybody. So now it's time to thank you. Yeah, let's hear it.